Yes, Mr. Speaker, House Resolution number 140, celebrating Vietnam-era Patriots. This resolution is offered by Representatives McDermott and Ward.
Thank you very much. Representative McDermott.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you very much. Representative Ward.
Mr. Speaker, I proudly second the motion.
Thank you very much. Motion has been moved and seconded. Discussion. Representative McDermott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As always, this is one of the most rewarding things we get to do, is to honor those patriots who've gone before us in a war that they didn't get a lot of thanks for when they came home. The first honoree I'd like to acknowledge is Mr. Alexander Sandy Gaston. Sandy, would you please rise? Sandy is a Vietnam-era sailor who enlisted in the Navy at the time of the draft. He didn't wait to be called. He went in. He got in Sandy's words, he got an all-expenses-paid vacation to the beautiful coastal shores of Vietnam, serving aboard the USS Princeton and the US Wexford in combat missions. They were doing shelling and being attacked at the same time. Sandy served his 2 years, came back, and started his career in investments. About 20 years ago, he relocated to Hawaii. Since then, he has become the #1 military philanthropist. In fact, when they wanted to bring the Mighty Mo to Hawaii, Harold Estes, Ed Carter, Roy Yee, the first person they called was Sandy Gaston. He said, "Sandy, write a check." Since then, Sandy has contributed many thousands of volunteer hours to the Aviation Museum, to the Arizona Memorial, to the Mighty Mo, to the Bowfin Submarine Museum. Mr. Speaker, I know Sandy personally, and he is a humble man. If there is a sailor in need, or a Marine in need, or a soldier in need, or a Coast Guardsman in need, and they can't get the help through the government, they call Sandy, and he fills the gaps. In the course of his philanthropic endeavors, Sandy has donated to the Pacific War Memorial area we have out there, the Bowfin, the Mighty Mo, the Aviation Museum, well over 7 figures of personal money. He is a man who always answers the call to help a young serviceman in need. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sandy Gaston. Thank you, Sandy. You can be seated. You can sit down. The next gentleman we have, I just got to know, retired Army Command Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant Stanley Fernandez. Stan, would you please stand? Stan has led a life that would make Jason Bourne jealous. From recovering U.S. space capsules to 120 missions during the Cuban Missile Crisis to 70 combat missions during the Vietnam War. He has done it all. Has served over 30 years in the United States Air Force. When he retired, Mr. Speaker, he said, "I want to give back." He worked with John Henry Felix, reestablishing the Civil Air Patrol here in the state of Hawaii. The units he's mentored and led have won national awards. He has won national awards as an instructor. And also the Air Force JROTC. He has continued to give back to the community and give back to our youth, our local kids, because he is a local boy at heart. He has won so many awards as an instructor and a mentor. The list is unbelievable. He's also active, as you can see, in the VFW and other veterans organizations. Stan is a citizen airman, someone who continues to give back. Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Fernandez. Let's give him a big hand. Thank you, Stan. You may be seated. Colonel Swede Olson. Swede, please stand up. USMC. Naval aviator, Marine. 1970, he graduated flight school, hoping to go to Vietnam. But at that point, the drawdown had begun. He served all over the globe, including Southeast Asia, but he wasn't in the stuff, as they say. He has a career that has won numerous awards and medals, not to mention the Air Medal, which is given for acts of heroic endeavor. His was a rescue mission, is what it was. Many people on the windward side, I'm sure my good colleague here from Kailua knows Mr. Olson very well, Colonel Olson, because he ran the airfield upon retirement for 15 years. So if they called about noise, they were calling Swede. Colonel Swede Olson is now president of the Pacific Aviation Museum. He's also a part of the War Memorial and the Pacific Board. He continues to give back. He's a Marines Marine and the godfather of Marine Corps Aviation in Honolulu. Colonel Swede Olson. Swede. Okay. I saved the best for last, and I really did. Miss Carole Hickerson. Carole, please stand up. Carole's name is familiar, Hickerson, because there's Captain Jim Hickerson, and we mentioned it, but I'll get to that part of the story in a moment. June 3rd, 1967, Carole was married to a Marine helicopter pilot, Captain Steve Hansen. Steve was shot down in enemy territory and last seen alive reaching for his pistol. So he was listed as MIA. Carole, all she got was the news MIA. At some point, she grew frustrated by the lack of transparency and information she was being given by the government. So she wrote 200 letters to the editor for all the major newspapers back in 67, 68. Now, at that time, there was no Xerox machine, Mr. Speaker. She had to write each of them individually, stamp them, and send them out. Well, this revelation across America, and she found out she wasn't the only one in this boat. She got an outpouring of support, and along with Sybil Stockdale, started the National League of Families. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the National League of Families, the logo is the POW MIA flag, if you will. She created that logo. She didn't create the flag. Someone took the logo, put it on a flag, and there we have the POW. She created the logo of the POW MIA flag. She and Sybil Stockdale were meeting with the heads of state. They met with President Nixon. They met with Vietnamese leaders. They met with Russian leaders. She met with Henry Kissinger. In fact, one evening, she was coming out of the building with Mr. Kissinger. It was probably 5 o'clock. And they said, who is this young woman with Henry Kissinger? Because he was kind of a playboy, if you remember. Snap, snap, the paparazzi went wild. Who is this young lady with Henry Kissinger? True story. John Wayne wore her husband's POW bracelet. And if you look in some of the movies from 69, 70, he's got that bracelet on, Captain Steve Hansen. John Wayne, every year, sent her son a Christmas gift until his death, remembering Captain Steve Hansen. See, Carole was in California. That's why kind of the Hollywood connection. In fact, even another Hollywood connection was the kids at Brea High School took an interest in her late husband. And a young fellow there drew a picture, a painting, and they used it for a fundraising event. And that kid's name was James Cameron, who went on to become a famous Hollywood director. Well, the end of the war came, and they debriefed the POWs, and they got more information. And they changed the MIA, missing in action, to killed in action. She was in the Cotton Bowl, an event Ross Perot had organized, and they began to play Tie the Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. And at that point, tears began to stream from her face. She spent 7 years trying to get information about her husband, only finally to be told he was killed. Standing next to her was this recently released POW whose marriage had dissolved during his time in captivity, Captain Jim Hickerson. He reached over and gave her a kiss on the cheek and said, "Don't worry, honey, it'll be okay." This is the stuff Hollywood couldn't make up. Eventually, they got married and adopted several children and have lived a wonderful life. And if you ask either of them if they could change anything, they said no. They're the luckiest people in the world. Well, I'm lucky to know her. Ladies and gentlemen, Carole Hickerson. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative. Thank you. Representative Ward.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support.
Strong support. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, there's little that I can add that Captain McDermott has said with an arousing emotion and with facts. Except I want to add one thing, that these are the This is the place where we are at the marketplace of ideas. This is where democracy is. And we stand on their shoulders and their shoulders for the freedom of speech and deliberation that we have here. Thank you for defending those freedoms. You know, we heard the other day that the millennials only have 60% who believe in the First Amendment. 40% would like to see some restrictions on the freedom of speech. Because of what you have done and what we can do here, we can carry on as a nation. Last night I had the honor of presenting a certificate to 100-year-old Admiral Vasey. People profusely thanked him. And if I can only give a small portion of that, thank you for all that you've done. Thank you that all that we now are continuing as a nation, and God bless America. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you very much. It's very nice. Thank you. Members, any further floor speeches? Representative Choi.
Thank you, Speaker. In strong support,
Strong support. Please proceed.
I was ordered by Captain McDermott to stand up, and one thing I do know how to do is follow orders. You know, it was 18 years old when I became a Marine, and I have a special place in my heart for Marines. And I know what it took to get there. I know your service. You know, you guys are the ones that allowed me to be all I can be. You guys are the ones who are a part of my success, a part of my life. We live in a great country because of you guys, and I just take my hat off to you. I congratulate you. It was a tough war. I'm so glad that you guys were in it. So I'm in strong support. Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Representative. Yes, Representative Ito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, you know, I'm an Air Force veteran, and the Air Force was a different branch. We had to take a test and pass, not like the Army and the Marines. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Colonel Fernandez. I served with him when he was colonel with the Civil Air Patrol, and he promoted me to the rank of major. And later on, I saw Colonel Fernandez. He became the state commander of the Veteran of Foreign Wars, which I'm a member of the 10154 post in Kaneohe. So anyway, I just want to congratulate all of you folks for your active service and serving with the various veteran organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Yes, Representative Ward.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, please state your point.
The Army I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I know we took some tests, maybe not as hard as you guys, but these guys who were in the Army, they were still smart too.
Yes, Representative Ward, I think that was just jokingly said.
Exactly, and I'm supposed to be joking too.
Okay, amen. Amen. We're keeping it clean on the floor. Thank you, members. Any further speeches on the resolution before we go to a vote? If not, members, we're going to be voting on House Resolution 140. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion is carried. House Resolution 140 is adopted. Representative McDermott, please proceed with the congratulatory certificates and lay.